Welcome to this week's edition of the Focus TV, joined by Octavia, Wyatt, Raymond Lyons. I'm Wilson Tarpey Jr. And in this episode, we got a lot to get through. We got some Mystics news to share, jam-packed college basketball segment, along with updates on the Wizards and Go-Go. Keith has the latest on the Pac-12. But as always, everything starts off with Octavia and the NFC East. So, Octavia, what happened this week in that very crazy division that doesn't know how to just let things be?
More craziness, like what? Like I don't know why you expect anything else every Tuesday, because every Tuesday it's something ridiculous. This week there was a straight split in the NFC East as far as teams winning. We had 2 win, 2 lose. So I'll go ahead and I'll start with something that was, I guess I can say I was impressed. The Washington football team defeated the Panthers this week. Washington football team had 27. Panthers had 21. Tyler Heineke was 16 of 22, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 carries for 29 yards. Antonio Gibson had 19 carries for 95 yards. Terry McLaurin had 5 receptions for 103 yards and a touchdown. DeAndre Carter had 2 receptions, 22 yards and a touchdown. And Cam Sims had 2 receptions, 19 yards and a touchdown. That's a lot of touchdowns that Taylor Heineke threw this week. So I feel like I ragged on him a lot, and I know I do. So I always want to give props where I feel like props are due. He's having a good 2-week stretch, from coming off of the win last week against the Bucks, and now coming in against the Panthers, who are playing better. This was a top defense early on in the year, and they kind of got their mojo back. Cam's back. It's a game for Cam against Ron Rivera, coming back to Charlotte. So it was a big talked up game, but nobody really talked about the Washington football team. Nobody talked about Tyler Heineke. Everybody talked about Cam and everything that they're going to do. And I will say it was actually a really good game. And the Washington football team held their own. Like I said, Heineke threw for 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had his best QBR rating this week, 141.3. He made some really great plays. That 4th and 2 run that he did at the end of the game to move the sticks to get the first down, so they could be in scoring position again, was definitely very, very needed for them. Like I said, 4th and 2 in a pivotal game. They were going back and forth, so. For me, it was a really good sign for Taylor. I feel like that he's been so up and down all year. This was the best that I personally seen him play. I will still say he's not the answer. I'm going to say that every week because I just don't want you Washington football fans to really buy into this. Last week there was talk about possibly seeing what Kyle Allen can do. But, of course, they're going to stick with him. Like I said, Fitzpatrick is probably going to be out. But he threw the ball to so many different people. Like I said, Cam Sims scored, DeAndre Carter scored, Terry McLaurin, the number 1, scored. Humphreys makes big plays that they need in that moment. So they're playing well. Even with the defenses playing well enough to keep them in games. Chase Young being out, they're hoping to get Montez Sweat back soon. But all in all, it was a decent game, especially, like I said, because Cam had a really good game. Christian McCaffrey had a good game as well. So it was touch and go for a minute. So that play at the end for Heineke, for me, sealed it for them and got them the win this week. They will have a Monday night game next week against a beat-up Seahawks team, but you can never count Russell Wilson out. So we shall see, especially – we know how much they don't really like primetime games. I know it was back when they had that other quarterback that's in Minnesota. They never won primetime games. But I'm sure they're looking to start something new. Another team that was victorious this week was my beloved Eagles. Played against the Saints. Beat the Saints 40-29, excuse me. Jalen Hurts was 13 of 24, 147 yards passing, 18 carries for 69 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Miles Sanders had 16 carries for 94 yards. Jordan Howard had 10 carries for 63 yards. Dallas Goedert had 5 receptions for 62 yards. I said it last week, and I think I kind of surpassed what I saw last week, honestly. This was the best complete game that I've seen us play this year. Last week, I feel like they played really, really well against Denver. But this week, I really feel like they kind of hit their stride. To run for 242 rushing yards against the number one run defense in the Saints was just a feat of itself. Like I said, Jalen Hurts, 18 carries, 69 yards, 3 touchdowns, rushing when we needed them. The juke play at the end of the game to put it out of reach was just classic. Like, I'm glad I've been seeing it all week on sports television because it needs to be there. And I feel like we're finally starting to hit our stride. I feel like Nick Sirianni is finally settling into being a head coach. His adjustments have been really, really good. As far as how we looked at it in the beginning of the season, we were very pass heavy. They put a lot of stress and, things on Jalen Hurts. And now that the run game is back, Miles Sanders returned, although he cannot continue to drop the ball. He had a costly fumble. But I've seen the last couple of weeks of the Saints run defense. It's been impeccable. So for them to run like that on them and to not give up on the run was just what we've been asking for all year. Now, I will be remiss to say that, yes, the Saints were missing some of their players. We know Alvin Kamara is out with a knee injury. But that's on the offensive side of the ball. I'm more so talking about the offensive side of the ball for the Saints. I'm more so talking about how well our offensive side did. Our defense, I still feel like they did really, really well. Darius Slay, again, is proving me wrong. I feel like I will talk trash, but I will apologize when need be. Big Play Slay is back. Another defensive touchdown for him. This is his third of the season. And I just saw it the whole way. So kudos to them. Again, this is what started for the Jalen Hurts era last year with the one against the Saints. And that's when they did have all of their people. So it was a really great game. 242 yards against a team that's averaging 72.9 yards allowed per game. It was just an all-in-all great game. The kicker played well. Special teams played well. It was just a great game. Jordan Howard did get injured in the game. I think he will be out this upcoming week. But we play against the team that I'm getting ready to go ahead and talk about, which I really should have left for last because I don't really have much to say about them. But the Eagles will play the Giants next week. The Giants look horrible, guys. I mean, I know I've said it all year, but they really look really, really bad. I talked about on Sunday, when you come off a bye week, you should be really, really prepared. You're coming off a bye week against the Bucks. Yes, reigning Super Bowl champions. Understandable, but the game plan just looked terrible. I mean, the Giants lost to the Bucks 30-10. Daniel Jones was 23-38, 167 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 3 carries for 10 yards. Saquon Barkley made his return. Nobody probably even knew that. 6 carries for 25 yards. Kadarius Toney had 7 receptions for 40 yards. As you saw, yes, Daniel Jones threw a touchdown, but he did not throw a touchdown to a wide receiver. And honestly, the only reason they got that touchdown was because of a tip pass that came off of the hands of Mike Evans, and they intercepted it pretty much on the 5-yard line. Yes. And shout out to the Love Don't Cost a Thing dance touchdown celebration that they did. I don't know if anybody caught that. That was the best part of their entire day. That was it. That was their offense and 1 field goal. It was just terrible. It was so bad that you guys got Jason Garrett fired. I mean, we knew he would get fired eventually, guys, but Jason Garrett has officially been relieved of his duties as the play caller, offensive coordinator for the Giants. What's even crazier is, like I said, they're coming off of a bye. So if that was something that you were going to do, you probably would have did it during the bye week. So you guys have enough time to get prepared, put somebody else in charge, and move forward. But that's how bad they were last night that they just can't even fathom it anymore. Gettleman, his days are numbered. Joe Judge better keep his fingers crossed. They might give him some more time. But Daniel Jones, who's coming up on that, 5th-year option. it's not looking too bright for him right now. The interceptions that he threw were horrible. There was nobody in the area. Like, I don't know what he was looking at. He must have had his eyes closed because he was terrified. Because his offensive line can't protect him. He's been running for his life. He was pressured on, I believe they said, at least 50% of his passes or his dropbacks in this game. Tom Brady was pressured like 17%. And he was throwing the ball all day long. Like I said, Mike Evans recorded his, I think it was like 600, I don't know how many touchdown passes it was, 70-something, I apologize. 70-something touchdown where he's now the leading touchdown receiver for the Bucks. So, I mean, like I said, Tom was throwing it every year. He got a touchdown. Ronald Jones got a touchdown. Fournette got a touchdown. Goodwin got a touchdown. So there were touchdowns all around for the Bucks. There was none for the Giants. Again, Giants coming off a short week since they played Monday night, and they will play my Philadelphia Eagles. I am confident, but I'm never confident when we play a division team. For some reason, everybody in the NFC East always usually gets up for a division game. But again, like I said, Jason Garrett out. The reports are right now that they're going to do like a committee thing, all hands on deck situation of who's going to be running the offense. That doesn't sound really good to me. So we'll see what happens next Sunday when the Giants play against the Eagles. Last but not least, the game of the week that everybody was looking forward to, the Cowboys played the Chiefs. Cowboys lost to the Chiefs. Chiefs had 19, Cowboys had 9. Dak Prescott had 28 of 43, 216 yards, 2 interception, 1 lost fumble. Tony Pollard had 7 carries for 50 yards, and Dalton Schultz had 6 receptions for 53 yards. Notice that I missed a lot of names in there. There was no Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb got injured at the end of the first half, got a concussion, did not return. Ezekiel Elliott tweaked an ankle, and Dak just seemed a little bit off. You know, it just, everything just didn't look like it clicked. It didn't look like the game plan came together to do what they wanted to do. And they went away from the one thing that they do well, which is run. They run the ball really, really well, but they didn't do it. And so I was kind of surprised that they didn't. When you're missing Cooper, you're missing CD in the second half, and there were drop passes. I know Cedric Wilson dropped the pass. When you have those type of things, you think about what the Packers did against, I forgot who they played, but when Devontae was out and Randall Cobb Alan Lazard was out, they ran the ball, and they have 2 really good running backs, and they were actually averaging more yards running the ball than they were passing the ball. So I don't understand it. It seems like they had this thought or this game plan going in, and they just weren't willing to adjust it. There was no halftime adjustments. And Chris Jones just did whatever he wanted. The offensive line couldn't protect Dak either. And Chris Jones had a day, 3.5 sacks. It was just bad. It was pretty bad on that end. The only bright spot, honestly, was the defense. The defense, you know, because you would think that as bad as it sounds, that they would have got blown out. They only lost by 10, and that's because the Chiefs couldn't really score because the defense played pretty good. Michael Parsons, like I said, go ahead, wrap it up, put a bow on it. Defensive Rookie Player of the Year. It is him. I don't know who else you guys think it could possibly be because it's nobody but him. He's everything. He's the bright spot for them. Trayvon Diggs kind of a little bit quiet lately, but again, they're doing enough to keep them in the game, just the offense wasn't able to click. They have a short week this week as well. We know they play on Thanksgiving every year, and they will play against the Raiders this Thursday. Raiders coming off of a bad loss themselves, but again, you never know. They played well early in the season, and people like to get up for a primetime game, so we never know. I do expect the Cowboys to win, get back on track, right the ship, and we'll see how everything shakes out for everybody next week.
Yeah, we definitely will. Again, it's a week-to-week thing in NFL. Never know whose turn it is. Something bad's going to happen to you. It's just a matter of if it's your week or not. It's for things to work out your way or for things to go the opposite way. So we'll definitely see. Keith was pretty fired up this week in the Pac-12 segment. If you're an Oregon fan, you might want to go ahead and turn away now. Just remember I looked out for you. Um, just remember I did look out for you. So up next, we got Keith with this week's Pac-12 segment. It'll be followed by our first break. When we get back, Ray's going to talk to you guys about the Wizards and the Go-Go. And, you definitely don't want to miss that, especially Wizards fans, because it feels like because of the pandemic, like, fans are already nuts. Y'all took it to a whole different level across sports with, like, living and dying with each and every game. Like, I need all y'all to relax a little bit. Some of y'all don't need to watch football on Turkey Day. But we got Keith up next. We'll see you guys when we return.
Like I promised last week, I'm back with another week of Pac-12 football. Let's get right into it. Arizona lost to Washington State 18-44. Delore, 13 for 22, 259, and 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. These are the flawless games I've been expecting from him. I've been telling you guys he's a good quarterback. He's very talented. His footwork is amazing when releasing the ball. It's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch from this year's class. He may or may not declare whether he does or not. He is a nice quarterback with good upside going into the NFL if he decides to go that way. Borghi, the running back, had 16 carries, 139 yards, and 2 scores. I'm telling you guys, this guy is quick. His decision-making behind the line is amazing. He makes a choice and he goes with it. And he's very quick when he does it, so that's a very scary tandem to have. They had 2 receivers with 2 touchdowns, Calvin Jackson Jr. and Travel Harris, both who exceeded 95 receiving yards. So when you have everything going right for you like that, it's kind of hard to lose and not win by a big margin. So moving on to Arizona State, they fell to Oregon State 24-10. They came off to a slow start, and they have in past games. They've just been able to bounce back. Unfortunately, this time they were not able to bounce back. Daniels only had 166 yards and 1 pick, so it was a bit of a slow game. Rashad White only had 39 rushing yards. But they did hold Chance Nolan to 90 passing yards, but B.J. Baylor just continued to run all over them with 150 rushing yards. So it's kind of hard to slow down the game when you got a running back who you're going against. Just find the holes easily and not be slowed down the way they didn't slow down him. So fortunately, they fell to Oregon State. They look to bounce back this upcoming week, but they've got to figure out how to stop in the run game and allow the quarterback to beat them with his arm instead of on letting the quarterback and the running back beat them on the ground. Washington fell to Colorado 17-20. Dylan Morris had 387, 2-2, so it's kind of like a cancel out, but we won't cancel him out. So 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. So when that happens, it's always kind of a funny scenario because it's like, you want to celebrate the 2 touchdowns, but when it's 2 picks, it's like the decision making has got to be better. On the other side, Brandon Lewis, quarterback for Colorado, had only 112 passing yards, no touchdowns though. So it was like he had a rushing touchdown, but he had no passing touchdown. So it's like when you're a quarterback, it's kind of wishy-washy. Obviously a rushing touchdown is nice, but you want to have that passing touchdown on the stat sheet. Nonetheless, Jake Broussard had only 40 rushing yards, but they came out with the win. So my philosophy for their game plan obviously was incorrect this game, but nonetheless, I think it was the defense that came up really big in this game, and causing turnovers is what got them to be in the red zone, what got them to win this game and have time of possession on their side. So obviously defense came up big for Colorado this game, so it's good for them. We've got I can't remember a blowout like this of this year, but UCLA dominated USC 62-33. USC is taking that Drake London loss hard. It is hitting them really bad. They are struggling, many turnovers. The game was really sloppy for USC. They came out slow, continued that. It was just slow throughout the game. USC's got to come better. And I know they had their head coach fired, but those are excuses. You've got to bounce back way better than they've been bouncing back this year. I understand you've been having quarterback problems. You lost your receiver that's going to go to the draft, so that's heavy. But it's like, you got to do better. You got to do better. DTR had 4 passing touchdowns. Yes, he had 2 picks, but he also had 2 rushing touchdowns. So 6 total touchdowns for DTR, 349 passing yards. These are the career games I've been telling you guys that he can have. If he can have this on a consistent basis, that's when scouts from the NFL begin to look at him, because he has I'm going to say his arm is good but not great. He can get it downfield, but the part that separates him from other quarterbacks is how mobile he is. Like I said, 2 rushing touchdowns. He had a leap over somebody to get into the end zone. You don't see that from quarterbacks. Jumping over a linebacker to get into the end zone. You don't see that. Charbonnet had 167 rushing yards with a score. They also had 2 receivers with a score. Casimir Allen and Kyle Phillips both scored, and Holden and DTR passing touchdowns. So everything went right for UCLA. Like, there was no questions asked. They dominated from the beginning. It was a sloppy game at first, but then UCLA said, yeah, we're not going to play that game anymore. Let's separate ourselves from them. Rough game for USC. Excuse me. Cal 41, Stanford 11. Has not been the year for Stanford. Not at all. Chase Garbers had 250, 2-1, so 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. But running back Chris Brooks had 131 rushing yards. I'm telling you guys, it is a trend when you have a good running back who is getting a lot of rushing yards during the game, and the running attack is working, then it all goes your way. I've been saying it all year, and it's continued to work all year. The teams who have been having the better rushing attacks have been winning the games. If you come with the better rushing attack this year, it has been a trend for you to win games. It is not that hard to tell. Tanner McKee only had 239 passing yards, but he did have 2 picks and no touchdowns. You don't win games like that. So, unfortunately, that's why they come out slow when your quarterback isn't getting the ball in the end zone, and the opposing team's running game is just there. It's unfair. That game was unfair. Watching that game was one-sided. It's the best way to describe it. It's the same for the USC game, one-sided. Moving on to our final game of the week, the biggest upset we had in college football all week. Oregon 7, Utah 38. Now, who would have saw this coming? Oh yeah, I did. Because Anthony Brown has got to get better passing the football. He was overthrowing wide receiver screens this week. It was not good. He made maybe 1 to 2 passes over the middle that I said, okay, that's where it is. He has it in him. He just can't do it often. He looked miserable passing the ball. He only looks comfortable when he's running the ball. Travis Dye had under 30 yards. Devin Lloyd and that running back and that linebacker crew slowed him down tremendously. That's the goal with Oregon. I told you make Anthony Brown beat you. They did that. He put up 7 points. That says a lot. Oregon's defense was not able to stop Tavion Thomas. He was electric this game. 3 touchdowns on 21 carries and 94 yards. But it's not even the defense. Like, yes, they allowed 38 points, but Oregon's offense could not score. So you're telling me you allowed 38 points to Utah's offense. Not even Utah. You allowed it to Tavion Thomas. He scored 3 touchdowns. Imagine what's going to happen when you go against Georgia, Alabama, whoever gets in that 4th spot, but even Ohio State, CJ Stroud just dropped 400 plus and like 6 touchdowns in the first half. Imagine what he's going to do to Oregon's defense when their offense cannot put up points. I've been saying this all year, and I'm going to continue to say it. Oregon will struggle if they make the college football playoffs, which is very unlikely now, but nonetheless, their team is going to struggle due to their quarterback issues. It's been another great week of talking Pac-12 football. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Welcome back to the Focus TV. Always appreciate Keith knocking out the Pac-12. Oregon fans, I told you weren't going to like what he had to say. But Ray, the floor is yours. Let everybody know what's going on with the Wizards and the Go-Go.
Yeah, man, I'm going to start with the Wizards. They lost to Charlotte last night. Second time they lost to them in the course of a week. So Yeah, Charlotte looks like they just got the Wizards number at this point in the season. The loss was pretty much indicative of all the Wizards losses this year. Uh, Poor shooting, turnover issues, and it just gets to a point where it's bad decision making. The Hornets closed the first half on a 14-2 run, took a 9-point lead into the locker room. They came back in the third quarter, and the Wizards just seemed out of sorts. They took a lot of ill-advised three-pointers, which led to a lot of easy Charlotte points in transition, and the Hornets pushed the lead up to 16. And the Wizards did what they do. They made it interesting and full back in the fourth quarter, but Terry Rozier, he put the dagger in them with the late three-pointer, and that was pretty much all she wrote. And in the post game, the sentiment was pretty much standard across the board for the Wizards. They just feel like they need consistency, which is which is good to see everybody on the same page like that. At least they know the issue. So at this point, it's just up to them to attack it and correct it. They got a lot of veterans on this team, which should bode well for their their ability to recover and adjust. But something Montrezl Harrell said, they just don't want to continuously put themselves in this position. Even in it, all their losses have been pretty much identical. But even in some of their wins, the games have gone this way. They've just been able to to pull it out. So yeah, man, you want to get a couple easy ones here and there. Not every win has to be a nail biter. And of course, you want to get to a point where you're playing consistent basketball and you're executing, you're doing the things you're good at. Because when they play well and when they're moving the ball and when they're defending, they're a tough team to beat. So yeah, just want to see them get to a point where that's the norm instead of an outlier. So yeah, they're 11-6 right now. We've been saying around that 15 to 20 game mark, we're going to really see what this team is about. We're approaching that time, and hopefully they can they just kind of round that corner and be a little more consistent. Moving on to the Go-Go, they played twice since the last time we talked, and they lost twice, both to the Maine Celtics. They were had a little back-to-back road series with them. First game they lost 86-79. Then on Friday they lost 118-91. Their issues are pretty identical to the big team's issues: poor shooting and turnovers. Cassius Winston, he's still trying to work his way back. He's still around the 20 minutes per game mark. Jordan Goodwin, he's been consistent so far this season. He had his first rough outing on Friday. He was 3 for 17 for 10 points. But that just kind of shows what he brings to the Go-Go. This is the first game he didn't score in bunches, and they pretty much lost by 30. They got to find somebody else to pick up the slack when he doesn't have it going. To expect him to just continue to score like he has through these first 6 games. That's that's a tall order, man. So they gotta get more balanced on that end. Greg Monroe saw his first action with the Go-Go. He had a double-double in his first game with the team on last Wednesday, 12 points, 14 rebounds. He's a good guy to have in that locker room. He's a veteran, and that's a fairly young team. Outside of him, Cassius Winston probably has the most experience, and this is his second year playing professionally. So that just gives you an idea of what they're dealing with there. Maine, they're one of the best teams in the G League right now, but still, you don't want to lose a back-to-back like that. Typically how that works out is, the team that won the first one, it gets a little more difficult for them the second time. But it just seems like Maine just kind of had their number. They won a close game in the first outing. Then the second game, they just came back and steamrolled them. But the Go-Go, they got some things to work through. Like I said, they're a young team, including the coach. Coach is 25 years old. It's his first head coaching job. So he's learning as well, and just trying to guide these guys. hopefully they'll figure it out. They got some pieces. Some of these guys are showing progress. I brought up Jordan Goodwin, Jaime Ekanike. He's I think he's going to be this experience is going to do him some good, man. He's still extremely raw, but he's learning and he's improving every game. So yeah, man, it's some room for positivity there. They're 3-3, so not off to a horrible start, but you definitely want to see some improvement as opposed to kind of going the other way. But yeah, man, it's just their turnover issues are killing them right now. They give the ball away at a terrible rate, but they rebound and defend well, so sometimes that kind of curves the issue, but more times often than that, when you turn the ball over a lot and you're not shooting well, that's going to cause you some issues. So the fact that you're not scoring and you're giving the other team more opportunities to score, no matter how well you defend, at some point that's going to come back to bite you. So I'm sure that's up at the top of the coaching staff's list to clean those things up, and we'll just see how they progress moving forward.
Yeah, definitely some of the things you were talking about in terms of the issues they're struggling with. The turnover thing, you do not want to take from your big brothers up there. You don't want to share that. That's something that's put them in a little bit of trouble. And they have a little bit more offensive firepower. So
I was going to say also, please don't take any fashion advice from your big brothers. Don't do that either. Just want to throw that out there.
Oh, man.
The sad part is,
terrible, bro. They're horrible,
I think what was
man.
sadder, he was trying to save himself. Like, once you do that, just don't respond. Like, it is what it is. Don't try to talk. You can't talk yourself out of it. You gotta just take the L, let it go. Don't try to talk back. It was bad.
I don't know who signed off on that. I don't know who signed off on it. I'm sure I don't know if they're still together, but I'm sure his model girlfriend, I hope she did not. Winnie Harlow, please have not done that. Did he consult you first? Jesus. But I'm done.
Koo's always been out there anyway with the clothes, man.
I was like, is his arm even in the sleeve? Like, I feel like he just had his arm next to him and the sleeves were just flapping in the breeze. Like,
but how are you like 6'10" and you got an oversized sweater on? Come on, dude.
I don't know. Like,
he had to roll the sleeves up to open the locker room door. Jalen Jacoby was talking about it. It had me dying because Jacoby was like, look. He had to roll up his sleeves. And it took him a minute to roll up his sleeves. You 6'10" with a decent wingspan. That took a while. Thanks, Octavia, because I got a lot to read. And yeah, it's gone now, so I appreciate that. All right. With the college basketball segment, I'm filling in for Cardell a little bit, at least with the first portion, which as it pertains to GW, but we'll start with GW men's basketball. They opened up the Naples Invitational on Monday afternoon with the 74-63 win over the defending Horizon League champion Wright State. The Colonials advanced to their semifinals of the inaugural event, taking on Kent State. And that game happened earlier today at 5:30. I'll give you guys the update on that in a little bit. As far as their opening win, GW controlled the game, leading for 37 minutes with only one tie in the contest. The Colonials led by as many as 15, shooting a season-best 47.5% from the floor while holding Wright State to 35%. It's never a bad recipe, and 12 points below Wright State's season scoring average. James Bishop led four Colonials in double figures with 18 points. It was his third straight game of 18 or more, also securing 5 rebounds. Joe Bamisile came within a rebound of his second straight double-double, 15 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He's dumb bouncy. Ricky Lindo provided 12 points with a career high 6 assists, also providing 6 rebounds and 3 steals. Brendan Adams, the former Husky transfer, filled out the quartet with 10 points and 4 rebounds. GW also got tremendous contributions from its bench with a season-high 14 points thanks to Brayon Freeman, who had 8, and Hunter Dean, who had 6 points and 9 rebounds. As far as that Kent State score, it didn't go GW's way. Kent State beat George Washington 77-69. As far as the women's basketball team goes at GW, They got another home win after defeating Quinnipiac 54-50. They did so without the services of Mayo Wataiwo, who led the team with 10 points per game. She's shooting 50% from the floor in the first 2 games. So, kudos to them for winning without a big part of their offense. Senior Maddie Loader held reigning MAC Player of the Year Mackenzie DeWeese and unanimous preseason All-MAC first-team member Michaela Morris to a combined 5 of 21 from the field, resulting in only 13 points from the duo. GW also had Quinnipiac to 29.2% shooting from the floor and were led by career nights from sophomore Araya Gingras, who scored 16 points, and junior Essence Brown, who added 11. GW, again, this is the women's team, now heads to Puerto Rico for the San Juan Shootout. They will face UT Martin at 1:15 p.m. Friday and will close things against Florida on Saturday at 8 p.m. And the team's third matchup already this season against the Power Conference foe. So they're definitely getting some quality bump before conference play even starts. The team's next home game is next Thursday, December 2nd, against James Madison at 7 p.m. It'll be live on NBC Sports Washington Plus and ESPN Plus. The NIT Tip-Off Classic, Cardell, will be in Brooklyn Wednesday night to scout Iowa State versus Xavier and Memphis versus Virginia Tech. Iowa State's off to a 4-0 start. Heading into the NIT season tip-off, they've been able to get off to such a quick start thanks to wins over Oregon State, Kennesaw State, and a pair of SWAC teams. Aiding them has been a couple of transfers in Gabe Cashler from Minnesota and Isaiah Brockington, who came over for Penn State. The duo is averaging 24.5 points and pulling down 9.1 rebounds so far this season. Caleb Grill is the team's 4th leading scorer, 8 points, averaging just a little bit over 3 rebounds. And is back where it all began at Iowa State with the coach who recruited him out of high school to South Dakota State. Tyrese Hunter is a 6'1" freshman guard who may very well end up being the Big 12 Freshman of the Year by season's end. Through 4 games, Hunter has stuffed the stat sheet with 12.8 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, and a team-high 6 assists. The Memphis Tigers are 4-0 after defeating Western Kentucky 74-62 in their last game, a game that was tied at the half and sloppy. The Tigers committed 26 turnovers. Despite that, Memphis 2 prize freshmen Jalen Duren and Imani Bates have led the way, averaging 15 and 13.3 points respectively. And another freshman forward, Josh Minut, has been very productive in limited minutes with 7 points and 3 rebounds in just 12 minutes. The returning guards, Tyler Harris, Lester Crinonis, and Landers Nolly have been steadying influences on the floor, shooting 54.6 from the floor and 44.5 from 3. That's a nice quality mix of really talented freshmen and some veterans. In fact, shooting at both ends of the floor has been a big key for Memphis so far this season. They're shooting at a 52.6% clip, which is 18th best in the country, while holding opponents to 33.6% from the floor, which is 9th in all of college basketball. So Petty got them boys strapping. Averaging 85.8 points per game and holding your opponents to such a low percentage is certainly a recipe for success, and no doubt makes Memphis a favorite in this tournament. Virginia Tech, they're 5-0, albeit against inferior competition. So this will be the time. This will be when they get some actual test on the court. The Hokies' defense has been strong, limiting opponents to 48 points per game. On the offensive end of the floor, Keeve Aluma and Justin Mutz have led the front court. Storm Murphy and Hunter Couture have solidified the Virginia Tech backcourt. Mutz and Aluma have grabbed 11.2 boards per game, while Murphy and Couture have done well with the ball in their hands, shooting 47% from the floor and facilitating for others, dishing out 5.2 assists per game, while turning it over just 2.4 times per contest. Virginia Tech's wins have come against Maine, Radford, St. Francis, Pennsylvania, that is, Navy, and Merrimack. So their numbers are likely to look inflated this early on, but they've been offensively balanced with 4 guys scoring in double digits and 4 others chipping in at least 5 per game. 6 guys also average at least 3 rebounds per contest. Virginia Tech has a blue-collar approach that keeps them in games. Their ability to knock down and defend the 3. They shoot 42.5 from beyond the arc. They hold teams at 17.5%. Makes them tough to put away. Xavier Musketeers with the consensus pick to finish behind Villanova in the Big East, but they got some bad news early. Is arguably their best player, Zach Freemanti, would miss the beginning of the year thanks to an injury, and he will miss this tournament before hopefully returning in early December. So he should hopefully be ready for conference play. The Musketeers are 4-0 and had their biggest test of the year, a 71-65 win over Ohio State in the Gavitt games. Senior Paul Scruggs and sophomore Colby Jones have been the offensive stars so far, averaging 28.8 points, 15 rebounds, and 6.5 assists, not to mention 3.5 steals so far this season. Iowa transfer Jack Nunge has helped fill the void in the middle without Freemantle. The 7-foot junior has been a force in the paint defensively with 1.75 blocks per game, while also contributing 9.8 points and 7.3 rebounds. Once Freemantle returns, he, junior forward Jerome Hunter, who's averaging 4.8 points and 7 rebounds, and Nunge will give Xavier one of the most formidable front courts in the Big East. The return of Freemantle should open things up even more for Scruggs and Jones on a perimeter. Even without him, Xavier should be a threat to win this tournament, which would put a stamp on their early season success. As for the standout portions, just taking a look around the country. Shout out to UMass Lowell. They're 4-1 after defeating GW last Friday, their second win over an A-10 team this season. They have 3 players averaging double figures, all DMV products. Sophomore forward Max Brooks with 11 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 2 blocks, which are all team highs. Grad student Everett Hammond, who's averaging 10.8 points, nearly 4 rebounds, 2.2 steals, and 2 assists. Former CIAA standout by way of Elizabeth City and Gwynn Park alum, Justin Faison, who's posting 10.6 points a game, 3.4 assists, 2.2 rebounds, 2.2 steals. As impressive as they've been early on, what's carrying them to wins is their defense. The Riverhawks are holding opponents to 60.4 points on just 39% shooting from the field and 31% shooting from deep. They also average 9.2 steals per game. Just an excellent job for head coach Pat Duquette and associate head coach Louis Hennett and the rest of the coaching staff. On to Maryland women's. It was a huge week. It is a huge week. They just got to the first part of it. They traveled to the Bahamas today, but we're going to go in a sequential order here. On Sunday, they hosted the 6th-ranked Baylor Bears at Xfinity Center. Maryland came out on top. They won 79-76. Ashley Owusu led the way with 24 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. She also reached the 1,000-point mark in her career, so shout out to her for that. Angel Reese added 17 points and 9 rebounds. Chloe Bibby and Mimi Collins added 16 points and 10 points respectively. Mimi Collins also had 8 rebounds, all on the defensive end, which was huge because Angel spent a chunk of this game in foul trouble. Baylor's Naylissa Smith. She's everything you heard about. She lived up to all that. She had a monstrous double-double, 30 points, 14 rebounds. Jordan Lewis, who just transferred there, she added 29 points. And Baylor had a chance to force overtime late, but the shot fell short. The Terps showed a lot of toughness to come out with the win. They also did so without the services of Katie Benson and Faith Masonis. For a more detailed breakdown of that game in terms of the recap, it's over at thefocustv.com. That in itself would be considered a big week, but wait, there is more. The Terps, like I said, they travel to the Bahamas. Their Turkey Day starts with a big matchup against 5th-ranked NC State at 11 a.m. Then they take on 7th-ranked Stanford, also the reigning champs, Saturday at 3 p.m. So we'll let you know how things go on next week's segment. Last but not least, Ashley Owusu earned co-player of the week in the Big Ten, while freshman Cheyenne Sellers earned her first Big Ten honors. She made Big Ten Team of the Week, essentially. We're going to take our second break. When we get back, some Mystics news and rapid fire. You're watching the Focus TV. Welcome back to the Focus TV. Quick update in terms of Mystics news. Washington Mystics announced that head coach and general manager Mike Tebow was signed a multi-year contract extension. This was on November 17th. Tebow was first named the team's head coach and general manager on December 18th, 2012. And he's done a lot from the time that he got here to what they are now, winning a championship. And then now, they're trying to bounce back and get right after last season, which was, I'm sure it's fair to say, a down season from their perspective. From Coach Tebow in the press release quote, after our last 2 years with the pandemic injuries, I'm looking forward to getting back to a full healthy team. I'm excited for the offseason and what we can do to reset our team, end quote. Again, biggest thing is Ray, Octavia, even with Cardell, we were talking there the WNBA season. We know this man was not about to go out like that. And, he's getting an opportunity to go in this offseason, There's some pretty big names in free agency. The WNBA's tough as is. He got a little bit of wiggle room to move some things around and decide what he's going to do. And Rodney, shout out to you. That is a perfect picture. I could only imagine what he's plotting on. The Mystics were one of two teams. Gabe Ibrahim tweeted this out on Sunday. I think them and the Atlanta Dream were present scouting that Baylor Maryland game. So it's that time of year. Just keep an eye. And how that, as bad as things went last year, they're going to be picking probably near the top of that whole the whole draft thing. So if there was anybody that didn't need a battery in their back to go fix their team, congratulations. I can't wait to see what Mike Tebow does with it. We're going to move on to rapid fire. The Titans waive Adrian Peterson. They signed Golden Tate to their practice squad. The Adrian Peterson era in Tennessee lasted just 3 games. Yeah, 3 whole games. So, Octavia, your thoughts on the Adrian Peterson era in Tennessee?
Like, why did they waste that man's time like that? But, I mean, we all know why they did it. I mean, I understood why they brought him in, because they didn't think that they would be able to run their regular scheme with Derrick Henry being out. But it really hasn't changed much. I mean, Adrian's done okay, but he hasn't really made a big difference. So they probably feel as though that what they already have is probably easier way to go. I don't get the Golden Tate signing. I mean, maybe because I know that, Julio and AJ have the hamstring issue is their thing this year. And they can't stay in the lineup consistently. So maybe that's what it is. But I mean, last time we saw Golden, he was punching his sister's boyfriend in the face on the field. So I don't know what their thought process is there. But I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I was honestly surprised that Adrian Peterson got the call in the first place. He's a little bit up there. I know he likes to think that he's still in great shape, which I'm sure he is. I don't know if it's NFL 2021, 2022 shape. But I'm not that surprised. I'm just more surprised that they wasted his time in that situation. Like, you brought him in for the 3 games. Like, either you're going to bring him in and let him see what you can do for the rest of the year, knowing that Derrick Henry is out, or if that was the case, you should have just stuck with what you already had in the beginning.
What says you, Ray? Keep in mind before you answer, Ray, that if this is the end for AP, he's going to finish 5th all time on the rushing yard list with 14,902. Is this the end, or do you think he might, find a home with another team or something?
It should be the end. I mean, like I said, he's old. Like, with, yeah, I don't see a situation where it's even worth it for him. Like even with this thing, like what were they bringing him in for? Like, to to make up for losing Derrick Henry, because that wasn't going to happen. Like, so I was just like, I honestly thought it was a joke when I first saw it on like the first place I saw it was Twitter. I was like, yeah, this isn't real. But what have you. And nothing against him, but like Octavia said, I'm sure he keeps himself in really good shape, but it's different. Regular shape, in good shape, and being in NFL live action good shape are 2 vastly different things. And especially like for a team that predicates their offense on the run and losing one of the best running backs in football. I was just curious as to what type of lifting they were expecting him to do. And if they expected him to immediately make up for the loss of Derrick Henry, and after 3 games, they was like, wait a minute, this guy isn't still in his prime. Let's get rid of him. And I was just stupid. But what have you. And the Golden Tate thing is just as bizarre. So good luck to them.
I don't even know where
my
Golden
little
Tate's
2 cents.
been.
Apparently the Titans knew, and I guess that's what's important. All the talent around this league, on people's practice squads and whatnot, or on good teams where it's just young players who haven't had the opportunity, and that was your decision. It's kind of perplexing, but again, that's your choice. I just got to mind my business and let you go about it. Probably our last question of the night. This should be a fun one. Ray, we'll let you go first on this one. LeBron James did not get away with just a fine. The Pistons' Isaiah Stewart was suspended for 2 games without pay for, quote, escalating an on-court altercation by repeatedly and aggressively pursuing Los Angeles Lakers for LeBron James in an unsportsmanlike manner, end quote, the league announced. LeBron was suspended 1 game without pay for recklessly hitting Stewart in the face and initiating an on-court altercation. This is the first suspension of LeBron's career and will keep him out against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. That game's literally being played now. The suspension will cost LeBron James $284,000 and Isaiah Stewart $45,201. For Isaiah Stewart, it's pretty much $22K a game. Well, 22 and a half a game. Do you feel the suspensions and fines were fair, Raymond?
I mean, Stewart did a lot, man. Like that whole thing was kind of extra and uncalled for. Was it 2 games worth? I'm not sure. But I would say a game for the shenanigans and then another game for being stupid. Because that was just like, dude, you weren't going to do anything. So what have you. Let it be a learning lesson for him. I was kind of shocked at the LeBron suspension. I don't think it was warranted, to be perfectly honest. Flagrant to an ejection, that was understandable given how those situations have been officiated. Recently in the NBA. Not really sure what they suspended him for, because after he hit him, he didn't do anything else. It was just Stewart acting a fool for the next couple minutes. So yeah, I guess they felt like he was due for one, and it's probably the first suspendable or even near suspendable offense LeBron has been involved in 19 years in the league. So what have you. I mean, I'm not about to cry for the man, but it did seem kind of weird. I don't think I thought the ejection would have been the end of it, but to suspend him and cost him a games check, which doesn't amount to anything to him, but still, that was it was just weird to me that that they levy him a suspension as well.
All right, how about you, Octavia?
I mean, I'm honestly fine with both of them, to be completely honest. I feel like, because I literally watched this ad nauseum all week, everybody talking about it, and listening to all the different opinions and points of views, where I see both sides of it. As far as why LeBron got a suspension, I think probably most of it just had to do with the league and the way they're going to look in the situation. Just to be honest, like they just know that if a situation at this magnitude happen, and we already know they do everything for LeBron. LeBron's the face of the league. They cater to him. He runs everything. He's a GM, player, coach, everything. We know these things. And in a situation like that, I just felt like they use it as an example. Like, hey, he's not above the law. He's involved in a situation, and we're going to, punish him appropriately. Isaiah Stewart, like, he went bananas. Like, he went nuts. Like, when I first watched it, I was like, oh, he is mad. Like, and I'm trying to understand, like, I really want to hear his side of it, to be completely honest, just to see where his head was. Because, like, everybody keeps saying that, LeBron probably said, I'm sorry, was reaching out. I'm like, who knows what the heck LeBron actually said to him? Now, I don't know, of course. But I just feel like something had to set him off to go that hard, especially because he got the loose ball foul. It's not like the loose ball foul was initially on LeBron. It was initially on Isaiah Stewart. But then LeBron trying to get him off of him is when he threw the elbow. And that's where that happened. So, all in all, like, it was crazy to watch. Like, I've never seen anybody charge at somebody that long. The other funniest thing was that Russell didn't even know he got a technical in the whole situation. That was the funniest thing I ever seen. He was like, who got a tech? You got a tech, bro. You missed it. And just seeing him, like, trying to square up at the end, like, all of y'all aren't going to do anything. Let's keep it 100. None of y'all are going to do anything. Isaiah Stewart wasn't going to do anything. LeBron wasn't going to do anything. Russell Westbrook wasn't going to do anything. AD wasn't going to do anything. Melo was sitting back there with a hoodie on, just looking like, what is going on? Like, none of y'all are going to do anything. So, because first of all, half y'all are old. Okay? And this dude is 20. He might be a little crazy in the head. Okay? So, none of y'all was really going to do anything. But I think the fines and the suspensions are fine. Listening to other people, like, they were saying he should have got 5, Stewart should have got 5 games and stuff. I'm like, it's not that deep. Yeah, he was a little bit extra. I'm trying to give him some grace and the benefit of the doubt. He's 20. He's a kid. He don't know how to act yet. So give him a little bit of grace. I think the 2-game suspension, I mean, I don't know what his contract is, but losing $45K, I'd be pissed about that. So I feel like give me $45K. Anybody that can just lose $45K and not care about it, I will take it. So I feel like him as a 20-year-old losing $45K probably should have humbled him a little bit more, and he'll learn from the experience. All in all, it's a wash. It's like we've had a couple of these skirmishes, already this year. The Jokic and Morris and Miles Turner and Gobert, I think it was, with these little skirmishes or whatever you want to call them. This was probably the most egregious one just because of Isaiah. So I feel like if he would have chilled, maybe neither one of them would have got a suspension. But just the fashion that he took it to, it just kind of, I feel like it tied, the league's hands, and they're like, we got to do something, And I mean, not to say it's the malice in the palace, but it ain't too far from it. So,
yeah, it was a whole lot of entertainment. Like you both said, nothing was really about to happen. And personally, as far as like Bron being fined, I could think of at least 3 or 4 other fouls that he's committed in the past 3 seasons that were way worse, that deserve fines. That wasn't worth this one at all. Like, the first that comes to mind, you literally shoved Joel Embiid out the middle of the air onto his neck, and we know how brittle Joel is, and you didn't even get a flagrant for that. So, like Octavia said, it's more for optics. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just can't, like y'all can't do this. And also, like, you'll be fine. And I think they looked out for Isaiah, because to only get hit $45K, I'm shocked that didn't have a 1 on the left of the 4. So again, it was for optics, because nothing really happened. Because like I'm looking at him like, y'all looked out, just 45. Like yeah, he's not happy about it, but
how much,
he didn't mess up his year.
How much he made? 145 as far as all damn contracts. I'm playing.
Enough that the 45, I'm shocked at, because again, I easily thought a 1 could be at the on the left of the 4 because of who the interaction happened with. But shout out to the league. Like I said, I have no issues with it. It was a bunch of nothing. Shout out to the fake Bleacher Report post. They had people going nuts. Like Isaiah Stewart was about to get fined $1 million. People was like, oh yeah, that'll do it. Like, Bron's fine, Isaiah's fine. Like, again, is a 20-year-old, and like when you get hit right there, anybody who's like, you get hit right there, it takes a minute before it starts leaking. And once it starts leaking, if you haven't been hit there before, like, it is one of those things where like you'll be like, oh, you got hit. Oh, I'm cool. No, when it starts leaking, it's Niagara Falls, and it's blood. Like it's.
And I take that back. He makes a decent amount. He makes a decent amount for a rookie. So I'm sorry, I take that back. But still, give me the $45K if you don't need it, okay?
Well, clearly he didn't want the 45 that day. Want to thank you guys for hanging with us this week. Hope you all have a good Thanksgiving. We'll get back with you guys next week. Don't forget to get over to Focus TV and all through the rest of this week. You know, if the Wizards are playing, we got Wizards Outlook after. So for some of you, you know, that'll see this in the morning. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. You guys have a great one. Rodney, you petty.
Perfect.
You're so petty, Rodney.
I love it. This is the petty is always here, guys. I love it. What is this? Somebody come get your man.